we thought we would catch up with fencing high performance coach Susan Agrella. Susan joins us online now. Susan, nice to catch up with you. How are things there with you?
JP, thank you for the invites. It's really going well. We are picking up again, and the High Performance Club is really been training very hard since July. All my fences there have obtained the national colours or are on the way of getting the colours. One of my fences, who's also been training very regularly, is Brittany Adonis,
Yes.
who missed a bronze medal at the African Junior Championships in Ghana in February by 1 point. So yes, she's also been training very hard.
Susan, take us back a few years, not a few months now, because of course we know it's been COVID and really the last 6 months has been very difficult for all of the sport codes. Let's go back a few years and tell us about fencing in South Africa. If we look over the last, say, for example, 4 years, and we know there of course we had an Olympics in that time frame. How have we been doing, or how do we do as fencing in South Africa?
JP, I think the biggest obstacle we have in this country with fencing is our location. It takes us about, I'd say, 18 hours to get to an international arena, whereas people in North Africa can hop across the ocean and then they're in Paris or wherever, in France or in London. So that is our biggest problem. For us, it is a huge operation to take everybody away, and we can see that in the results, unfortunately.
Yeah.
I think what we've done, which is very good, is we've decided to focus on more a specific weapon.
Right.
And put our energies into that instead of trying to cover all three weapons. And that has borne a lot of good, positive fruit.
That's of course your saber, the epee, and the foil, which I now know because I've managed to do a few interviews with you guys, and we of course we had the Yantolo twins on a while back, and we asked them why do they do such a dangerous sport, and they just laughed and they said no, it's not so dangerous. They're actually very well protected and they've got uniform but you've got some real fantastic athletes coming through the ranks.
Oh yes, oh yes. You see what they enjoy is it's just not a physical sport. It is so much concentration, so much mental preparation, so much mental ability that goes into this. So once you step off the piste, which is the metal strip that you do your fencing on, you've been to another planet. You cannot afford to lose your concentration for 1 nanosecond, because your competitor picks it up and you will come in for a hit and you've lost a point. So you've got to absolutely focus 100% mentally, and then of course all in 100% physically as well. So that is why I think the people who are fencers, they enjoy the sport so passionately.
How many days would a week? How many days per week would a top athlete typically have to train to reach these higher levels that we're talking about?
JP, I am not comparing our training that we do here in the Western Cape or in Eden to South African training. I'm comparing our training to international standards. According to international standards, you've got to train 6 days a week. And to reach the top 30 international, you have to train from 7 o'clock, obviously with breaks, until about 8 o'clock at night.
Wow, that's a full day.
Yeah.
6 days a week, full day, 6 days a week. That's a tremendous amount of training. Of course, those are not everybody has those luxuries to be able to take time off work or have that as a full-time job, literally.
Yeah, you see, but that is why the Egyptians have sports schools.
Right.
And that is why they're so successful.
Yes.
They are able to work their schooling into the sport curriculum.
Right.
And They do mental preparation, they do strength conditioning, they do technical work, they do all those things that we've got to try and push into 3 hours per night, 3 times a week.
Right, right. What would you say is a good age for kids to start if they want to start fencing?
Again, I'm going back to the international standards. If you look at the successful athletes, they started not later than the age of 6 or 7 years old.
Right, so it's fairly young.
Yes.
Yeah. So, Susan, then let's just talk a little bit about some of the events. We know that the last few months has been virtually a shutdown for a lot of the sports, but of course, fencing was one of the first sports to sort of get back to training because you were able to regulate the environment. But what are the competitions that are potentially coming up now in the future?
This year, of course, it's a no-brainer. We hope to do a series of national events next year in order to compile a junior national team that has to be ready for 2022. So far, many of the international competitions have also been toned down very much. France has been, for instance, has had one junior event this year.
Yeah.
So that's what we're looking at. What are the international community doing? What are they doing? So we will follow them because they are a little bit ahead of us regarding this COVID pandemic. So obviously we will have to get back to training and serious competition training for next year in order to get the national team up and going. I have heard that the Commonwealth veterans are also scheduled for 2022. So that is what the veterans are aiming for, and then the juniors and the seniors are hoping to get their qualifications in for zonals, that is the continent, in order to qualify for Olympics.
And at a more local level now, Susan, you're of course in the Eden area. You've got a couple of clubs that you're working with there. We know that there's some top clubs coming out of the Cape Town area and some of the other districts, of course, in the province. Do we have any activity on the cards from a club perspective or district perspective, or is it all focusing at the moment on training and as preparation for what comes next?
JP, I've had to make the decision because of the very strict protocols that we are adhering to at the moment. At the time that we are able to spend together in training, on what do I spend that? And I decided to start preparing them for competition.
Yes.
Strength and conditioning, you can do at home. Right. And mental preparation you can do online. There are so many things that you can do on your own. So at the time that we spent together, I've decided to start preparing them for competitions. And every training session, we approach that as a competition, so that the moment the competitions restart again after almost a year of no competitions, there won't be that the jitters and the butterflies and everything.
So it certainly is high performance. It's the top level stuff that you're focusing on. Susan, we're going to leave it there. We're going to say thank you very much for your time. Of course, hope to catch up with you soon. We look forward to following the progress of the athletes and seeing how they go in the future and getting lots of photographs and videos and seeing who the champions are that are coming through the ranks.
We'll do that. Thank you so much for the opportunity. I really appreciate that, JP.
Thank you, Susan. There we go, folks. Susan Agrella, high performance coach for Western Cape fencing, and it's great to see that our fencers in the Western Cape are starting to achieve these high levels. Of course, very difficult at the moment to achieve these levels if you can't compete, and so we hope to see some competitions in the future and see our athletes doing making the Western Cape proud, shall we say.